Welcome to Shallow. Join us as we explore the topics that are always on our minds. From beauty and wellness trends to balancing our careers and ambitions, these conversations fill our WhatsApp inboxes and social media feeds. We're diving into pop culture and asking the question, is it really that deep? In today's episode, we're going to unpack what influencer culture is all about and how it influences us in ways we might not even notice. From a trend cycle that seems to come and go in the blink of an eye to how social media is now built around selling. We'll dive into how influencers and social media platforms are shaping our purchasing habits, either for better or for worse. Let's go. So in today's episode, we're going to be discussing influencer culture. Our conversation this week was sparked by a recent TikTok from Maria Life Finance, who's basically asked the question, are influencers making us believe that constantly spending so much money is the new norm, is normal? And it really just got us thinking, are influencers making us broke? I think we really need to dive a little bit deeper into this question. So Phoebe, what is influencer culture?
Oh, so I think when we talk about influencer culture, I would say it's that very obvious display of wealth, maybe coupled with constant new outfits, hauls, a lot of holidays, a lot of eating out, maybe a brand new car every 1 to 2 years. This almost kind of, I'd say overconsumption of goods and services, but I think coupling that with maybe being very online about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, the global influencer market size has more than tripled since 2019. And in 2024, the market was estimated to reach a record of $24 billion US, which is crazy.
Alongside this, brands are also significantly increasing their investment in influencer marketing. So Linquia reported a 65% rise in the number of influencer campaigns executed with partners in Q1 2024 compared to Q1 2023. Which is really interesting. Obviously, I work in social media and I guess these stats kind of don't really surprise me. We've spent an awful lot of money on influencer marketing and a lot of the time it does really work. Do you feel influenced by anyone? Are you anyone you really like, or is it anyone that you would be like, oh, she's worn it, so I'll buy it?
I think it's interesting because I think I follow people and I don't necessarily think, oh, I'm following an influencer here. You know, I might see somebody wearing a cute Parisian outfit and I'm like, oh, I quite like that style, that's very me. Or I'll see something on Pinterest that I quite like and it'll always kind of link me back to an influencer. But I don't think I'm actively seeking them out. I think they are just there. And as much as you try to avoid them, I just don't think it's possible in this day and age.
Unavoidable.
And, you know, I see you're the marketing queen. You know a lot about this topic. You work in social media and you've worked with influencers, you know, in the past. How do you think they present themselves kind of on and off screen? Do you think there is this kind of trend of how they present themselves on Instagram to how they actually present themselves in real life?
It's a really good question. I think the ones I've worked directly with have genuinely all been very nice and have felt like an extension of their online persona. I think there will always be the side of it where, you know, they flip on that camera and they are on to a certain degree because they have to be, right? The way we are maybe going out for dinner with our friends is not the same way we are on the sofa. And I kind of view that in a similar way. And also, you know, they're selling a product. They have to kind of be up with it. It's like that television presenter mode. I think in the way of the people that I've worked with, I've always, when the camera stopped rolling, it didn't feel like they turned into someone else. But
That's interesting. So have you ever been influenced by an influencer off camera, off social media?
Yes.
Have they ever sold you anything?
So I was working with someone a while ago and she was talking about a certain probiotic brand and I was fully influenced by her. She was very passionate about it and she sold it to me. I was like, great, she nailed it and it was really, really good.
That's funny, isn't it? Because obviously probiotics is something that you've kind of recommended me. So in a way, it's kind of that kind of three-tier thing of you've been influenced by an influencer and then in turn by your friends. And that's kind of how it works, right? It's, you know, you might be influenced by something. You're like, yeah, I've been totally convinced by this item, this product. and then you know, go out for a drink with your mates, you're, oh, what, you're using this new thing.
Pass it on.
And you're passing it on, and you're not necessarily being like, oh, this person has sold me this thing. You might genuinely be like, oh no, I've been trying it and it really does work. Or vice versa, it could be, oh, this person was promoting this thing, it's a pile of trash, like, I can't believe I bought this thing, which is also another end of it, you know, with kind of the trends of, you know, for example, I'm just going to mention it, the Molly May brand line. You know, it was promoted as high quality, kind of mid-range, quite expensive, and, you know, people have brought it home and it's not lived up to its expectations.
It's not fit the bill. I think also that's kind of touching on what you said earlier in that snippet. I think that, you know, that's almost how influencer marketing came to be a thing. It was almost that feeling of you were being recommended it by a friend, like rather than a brand. And I think that's why it was so successful off the bat, because you felt like you had this, I mean, largely parasocial connection with someone, or maybe there was someone who had a similar skin type to you or a similar body type to you, and, you know, you could kind of almost model or see yourself in them, and, you know, you were kind of influenced by them. And now it's obviously turned into this huge, literally $1 billion industry. I think we should start with kind of the shallow perspective, which is we're just easily influenced. It's just who we are. Is it actually any deeper than that? And I think probably the main place I want to start now when we talk about influencer culture and being sold to is the speed of trends. I think, you know, what we're seeing now with the trend cycle, it is rapid. It's not just, you know, let's take fashion. It's not just like autumn, winter, spring, summer fashion weeks and then that filtering down to the high street. It's like rapid. You have these micro trends. We had mob wife, ballet core, clean girl. Like, it's constant and it's relentless.
Yeah, and I think as soon as one trend is like kind of been put through the ringer, like you've seen it every day, all day, it's almost like it flips. So it's like the CEO girl boss vibe, and then suddenly, you know, you're sick of seeing that on your screen. And as soon as you feel like you're sick of seeing it, you'll get the kind of like stay at home, cozy core, like autumn, like, oh, I'm just a woman living at home and not working vibe. Like, it just completely like flips it. And then when the algorithm knows that you're sick of that, or it hears you being like, oh, I hate that, what the fuck, you know, it's like, oh, why don't you try ballet core, like do this, you know. It's this constant like cycle and recycle of things, and, you know, I think it just goes in big waves.
Well, yeah, and then it also, that your wallet instantly feels that impact, right? Like, if you're on social media and you're kind of being fed this, I don't know, messaging of like, you know, this is what you're missing in your life, or your home is not ready for October, and you need to get your Halloween things. You know, what are you going to do? Like, probably get in the car and go to HomeSense. Like,
exactly. And it's so funny, isn't it? Like, I just bought my mob wife core outfit, and now you're telling me to be cozy girl aesthetics. Like, who am I supposed to be here? And then you get this kind of dystopian, like, I don't know, like, cut down the middle of who are you as a person, because maybe you're just being pulled in different directions, and you're, you know, 1 minute you're feeling like a badass walking down the street in platform heels, and, you know, you're going to go and find yourself a daddy, and then the next minute you're like and then just projecting that
daddy,
and then the next minute you're let's make some bread and like get ready for winter and put the Christmas tree up, and I need to go to home base or whatever.
But I think it feels more than like just being a multifaceted individual, right? Because like, you can be all those things. You can be the person making sourdough, and you can be the person looking for daddy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh god,
looking for daddy. Like, make that the name of the episode.
So,
influencers looking for daddies.
You can be the person in the kitchen making sourdough, and you can also be the person having your brat summer. Like, you know, we've got duality, and that's what makes people so great, right? They don't have to just be one thing all the time. But I think that what I felt really, like, not disturbing, but maybe concerning about these trends is that they felt manufactured. They didn't feel like they were coming organically. They felt manufactured to sell us things. And that's where, and I'm sure, you know, you could argue that about any trend of all time, but I feel like maybe when we were younger, I mean, you know, I remember there was just like that vibe of like our time. It was like the kind of maybe the deep side fringe, and there would be kind of like
avocado on toast.
Yeah, like, you know, that kind of millennial core.
Put a little mustache on you.
Yeah, like now I feel like it's almost like, oh God, like there's so much going on at any given time.
There's so much that you can dive into, and there's so many things that you can be and present as. And yeah, it's crazy. And I think it's good to mention, I think something that like is crazy to me is China's dystopian influencer farms. You know, these are hundreds of employees in a warehouse, and they have like booths, and each booth there is an influencer in there, and they are doing something different.
What?
So they are like promoting a makeup brand, they're doing a TikTok dance, and that it's crazy. You should see some of the videos. Like some of the videos are crazy. It's like manufacturing influencers, and like when I see TikTok Shop, that's kind of what I think of. I'm thinking, is this person in a tiny little booth somewhere in a Chinese warehouse? You know, like we get a lot of our kind of products from China, we're also getting a lot of our influencer culture from China. And yeah, it's crazy. And I'm wondering whether, you know, that trend is going to, or has it already, like infiltrate the UK or America or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it probably has. We're just unaware of it. But yeah, it's crazy. They're all kind of set up like ring lights and like all the things that you would need to be an influencer. So yeah, it's like, it's kind of taking the autonomy away from people who are maybe like, oh, actually, maybe I would want to influence somebody because I'm really passionate about this topic. Whereas this is more like, oh no, we've got the makeup influencers, we've got the dance influencers, we've got the...
Oh my God, that's so weird. I've never heard of that before. And that kind of, it makes me feel a bit icky. But I mean, you mentioned TikTok Shop, and that is what, you know, these platforms are built for now. They're not kind of really trying to hide it anymore. It doesn't feel like social media. It feels like we're just being sold to. And I think that, you know, a lot of the time, these influencers, like, they're just playing the algorithm. Like, if they're making money and they know how to sell it and they know how to impact this purchasing behavior, and they're making bank off the back of that, because a lot of these influencers are making really, really good money.
That's sales, baby.
Yeah, like they're like I don't really blame them in a certain sense, because it's like, well, if you're making like thousands and thousands of dollars off, you know, a video, why wouldn't you carry on?
Do you know what it is that kind of gets into a more of a grey area is when it's kind of like, no, I'm just an influencer. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not trying to sell you something. When that kind of like, okay, don't lie to us. We know you're trying to sell us a product. We know this. And I think we see it a lot with, you know, kind of, I mean, I see it with influencers who I followed for quite a while, and they'll be like, you know, I really love these pair of jeans. These pair of jeans are amazing. And they're showing them from all different angles. And they're saying, you know, this is not an ad. They're like, disclaimer, this is not an ad. I've just tried this brand off my own back. But here's a code, insert name, 10% off. You know, I just got in touch with them and the brand is giving me a code for you guys to get money off. And it just feels a little bit like, are you genuine here? Like, are you genuinely, you know, wanting to promote these jeans because you think it's going to benefit your audience? Or is there something slightly a bit more sinister in that you're promoting these items and you're also profiting from it without kind of disclaiming that?
I think that's the key bit at the end, is the disclaimer of it. Like, I think, and that's where it does start to get into murky waters, right? Because I don't think, if they've built this audience and this audience is maybe susceptible to being sold to, and that influencer is doing it in a ethical way, I think it's when it gets into the lack of disclaimers. And we've seen like the waters be muddied, right? Like there was, you know, I think quite famously it made the news that obviously the owner of Tala, Grace Beverley, got kind of, I don't want to say called out, but brought to attention for her advertising standards. I think, to my knowledge, she didn't disclose in certain videos from her personal channel that she was the owner of the brand she was talking about, which I believe was Tala, and was kind of made a bit of a public example of. And I believe it, you know.
There were some repercussions, whether it was monetary or, basically just popularity-wise. There might have been some repercussions to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have followed Grace Beverley since she was Grace Fit UK. I like her. I think she does
makes a banging pair of leggings.
She does make a banging pair of leggings. And I think in university I used to follow her like Get Fit.
Yeah, because she started as like a fitness influencer.
Yeah. I think she was one of the OG, like with and she kind of brought out her like resistant bands, and I was all over those.
Well, she's so clever. Like she is smashing it.
Yeah, but at the same time, like if she's grown and grown and grown exponentially over the years. Like there is a level of responsibility that comes with influencing that many people. Like, you know, when you hit, you know, million subscribers or people following you or buying your product, yeah, there is an expectation that you should probably follow the rules like everyone else. And I think the fact that Instagram has incorporated this, you know, you have to say whether this is an advertisement or not, is you know, a small but, you know, still steady acknowledgement that they are seeing people being influenced.
There is a lot more legislation surrounding kind of disclosure of ads and disclosure of when you're being sold to, because I think a lot of the time it is sneaky. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's kind of, you don't realize it's happening until it's happened. But I think let's talk about the extravagance that maybe is being a bit normalized through this kind of influencer culture. Do you think that it's normal for us to be eating out most nights, buying new outfits, maybe having a new car every so many years? I mean, I saw earlier today someone do a haul for their car, and for me that sounded a little bit like
what they have in their car.
Yeah, so they were like, I'm refreshing my car for this season.
Here's my Stanley Cup.
Yeah, like here's my air freshener, my Stanley Cup, and like all the bells and whistles you get for the inside of your car. For me, that felt unnecessary.
Come take a look in my Beetle, my 2012 Beetle, and my crisp packet on the floor, like
crush.
Yeah, I think it's taking it away from reality a little bit, isn't it? Like, you know, it starts out with the whole like, look, what's in my bag, you know, and I love those celebrity ones. I think they're great. But yeah, when it becomes kind of the more normal end of the influencer section, where you're not like a grade A celebrity and you're kind of showing off it's basically just a way to show off what you have, right? It's just like, look what I have, look how amazing I am. And that can be a problem in itself, because it's, you know, somebody who's sat at home, who's leading a relatively normal life, 9 to 5, you know, not struggling, but, you know, not exactly putting away bank. And, you know, that's a lot of people. Like that's just your day-to-day working class person who's maybe looking at these videos day in, day out, and that can have a real impact on your mental health.
Definitely. I think because there's this feeling, I guess, where you're like, this person is living this incredible life, and let's be honest, we don't know the life these people are living. We're seeing what they're choosing to show us, but it is hard to be like, you know, you're there probably on the sofa, covered with dairy milk on your phone, just like, oh, like, should I be doing this?
Like, I feel pretty beige right now.
Yeah, and then you're probably going to make yourself feel better by buying something and trying to get that dopamine hit that way. But I think also the other thing that we have to account for is that how many of these influencers are actually funding their own lifestyle. Like, how much is gifted?
It's gifted, yeah. And I think it's really important to say that, you know, if you're looking at these videos all day, every day, or in your lunch breaks when you're sat on the sofa watching TV, as much as you can sit there and be like, oh, this is probably gifted, like they're probably not making that much money, you know, there is a level of oversensitization where you're kind of just like, okay, well, my brain is seeing what it's seeing, and therefore, you know, seeing is believing, and that it must be real, like, because how many of these people could be faking it, you know, and you kind of buy into the fact that, okay, yeah, maybe they are really doing well, and I should be doing something different with my life. Like, I shouldn't just be sat here, like, I should be going and being a CEO girl boss. Like, I shouldn't
be sat. Girl boss.
I am a CEO girl boss. I shouldn't be sat on the sofa watching these TikToks endlessly. Like, I should be the one doing those things. And yeah, I think it's really interesting.
Do you think we're becoming wiser to it, or do you think it's actually just getting sneakier?
That's a really good question. I think potentially, when influencers kind of first broke out, I think it was a kind of like, oh my gosh, these are like the new celebrities. And we're a bit more like infatuated by it in a way. And I think more of the average person can become an influencer, like anyone can kind of do it. If you've got a ring light, you've got a phone, you've got a little tripod, you can be an influencer. You can try anyway. If you're successful, that's another story. I think we're at such peak saturation now that maybe we're not taking that much notice of scrolling up. We're not being like, oh, this person looks amazing, they're selling us a product, let's watch it. We're like, oh, another one, and another one, and another one.
It's funny, actually, when I went home to the UK for summer, they don't have TikTok Shop in Australia, and one thing I immediately noticed going home was that like I was getting served so many more ads. There was so much more selling when I was home, and I came back here again, and I was like, oh, I felt like I'd been like a bit more cleansed.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's like the Americanization of British culture.
Yeah.
In a way, it's like, you know, it used to be you watch TV and there'd be like a minute of adverts and you'd be like, oh my god, we're turning into America, because obviously America have like 5 minutes of adverts every 10 minutes of show. Ad break. And that has kind of slowly trickled into our like British culture, where we're watching more and more adverts on our television. But you know, we're a generation now where we don't watch as much live television or television with advertisements, so therefore it's coming at us in a different way. It's coming at us through our phones.
So I think we also need to talk about the overconsumption side of it as well, because I think one thing for me that feels undeniable is the influencer culture of selling is making us consume more goods. I think we're seeing it across the board. We go back to all these micro trends. It's not just fashion we're talking about, it's our home, it's food maybe, and we're going out and we're potentially, you know, buying more and arguably buying cheaper now as well. So you've got these Shein hauls, these Temu hauls. It's obviously not good for the environment if we consume this much, more ending up on landfill, etc., etc. Do you think, again, that this kind of online culture is perpetuating this? We need to keep up. We need to have a new outfit every time we go out. We need to snap pics on it. We need to then put that online.
I mean, I think that's quite interesting, isn't it? Do you remember the whole Love Island thing, where they were swapping out brand deals and they were reusing a clothes line?
No.
Yeah, so in 2022, Love Island were promoting sustainable fashion by using used garments from eBay.
Yes, I remember that.
So I think that was quite not of a shock effect, but it was kind of a bit of a shock, because, you know, the Love Island you kind of associate with like Pretty Little Thing and like Boohoo and all that kind of stuff. So it was like, oh no, this big, you know, TV show is actually making an effort to be like, reuse those outfits. Like, don't go out and buy a £5 Temu shirt.
It's really interesting as well, because I remember when I saw that thinking like, well done, because like that felt good, but it also was interesting because it immediately juxtaposes the brand deals that a lot of these guys get as soon as they leave, which is Misguided, Pretty Little Thing, you know, ultimate fast fashion churn and burn companies. But I appreciated the fact that Love Island, who are probably very aware of that fact, were maybe trying to like balance the scales out a little bit.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? It's like, was it done as a kind of publicity stunt? Because, you know, I mean, I'm not too sure. I didn't really follow Love Island. I don't really follow Love Island. But those contestants afterwards, did they go on to?
Yeah, I mean, how long's a piece of string? I think like they could either, ITV arguably could say what happens post Villa, post Love Island is not of ITV's concern. And they were probably, I imagine their mindset might have just been like, we're going to do what we can about this. And this is something that's been called to our attention. And, you know, this is something in our power to pick a sponsor that, you know, does have a good message around sustainability. Who knows? But I think that there's also a really nice rise of influencers who are kind of trying to fight the good fight, and these underconsumption TikToks. I mean, I really like Venetia Lamanna's content. She does an awful lot around sustainability, especially in the fashion world. There was Charity Shop Jen, who would kind of do...
I love Charity Shop Jen.
She's so good. And she would do these fashion hauls and everything was secondhand, and she styled them up. She looked amazing. And I think it's not all doom and gloom. Like, we are seeing some really good people try and get the word out there of like, stop buying all these clothes.
Honestly, I think from a personal take, I've started shopping a little bit more sustainably. Like, a lot of my clothes are hand-me-downs or charity shop, and that's not to say I don't go out and buy clothes, because I do, but I think I have a mindset of like, buy cheap, buy twice, and I will always look for something that's better quality, that will probably serve me for a lot longer than something from Boohoo or ASOS. But yeah.
I think also there's something to be said of when, you know, what if that is all you can afford? I think that's also a different conversation of, if that is your price bracket, you've got to do what you've got to do. Like, cost of living, economy, etc. I think we're talking about the extreme, that extravagant nature of new haul every week, wearing a different outfit every day.
Yeah, it's not normal. And I think maybe it's not as prevalent now, but I think I remember like seeing, you know, the behind the scenes of like influencers where they go out into the streets and they bring like maybe 6 or 7
bag of clothes,
outfits with them, and they're getting changed round a corner, like a dodgy little alleyway, and they're like, look, this is what we're putting into our content. And I'm like watching it thinking, that's not normal. Like, yeah, you look good, and it's the way that they, you know, like when they walk across the street, like it's candid. That's not candid. Like, and you see the behind the scenes, and it kind of breaks the veil a little bit, and you're kind of like, oh, I can't obtain that because that's fake. Like,
but I think we need that though, right?
Yeah.
We need that slap across the face with reality, and I think that's why a lot of the time TikTok's quite appealing, because it gives you that maybe less polished or like behind the scenes. Obviously, people are very clever about that stuff now, but when you see that side of it is that like, oh no, this isn't real. Like she's going down an alleyway and she's literally changing her clothes.
And I think in a way, like they're not doing it to be like, oh look, look how humbled we are by doing
I don't
this.
think it's a sinister place.
They're not doing that. But yeah, it's kind of like you're not really seeing the bloopers to somebody walking across the street like Devil Wears Prada.
Great.
We love Devil Wears Prada.
It wasn't obvious. So overall, do we think it's that deep? Is influencer culture making us broke?
I think so. What do you think?
I think it's playing a part, yeah. I think there is something to be said for knowing your finances and knowing what you can and can't afford and trying to not live beyond your means. But I think when we are bombarded, if you're on social media, it is a bombardment of messages around buy this, influencers in beautiful houses, and not just influencers, brands as well. You can't escape it. It does make you feel a bit less than, and I think you want to kind of, maybe if I get this new thing, I'll feel better, or my life will be complete, or, you know, you see these lifestyles, and I mean, who doesn't want to be going on multiple holidays and have all these beautiful clothes?
Yeah, I think it's this real heavy message of fear of missing out, right? And I think
FOMO.
Massive FOMO. And I think I really struggle with this. Like, this is something, you know, that my personality really, really does struggle with, this fear of missing out.
You do get the worst FOMO.
Yeah, I do get the worst FOMO, especially when one of your best friends lives in sunny Sydney, Australia, and you are in miserable London. Like, yeah, it's a strong, prevalent theme. And yeah, I'm the type of person that, like, if I want something, I will try and do everything I can to obtain it if I really am passionate about it enough. And yeah, I think if you're leading a relatively normal life and you're constantly bombarded with people going on holidays to Dubai and getting, you know, going in Lamborghinis.
Yeah, you want in.
You want in. And like, I personally wouldn't want into Dubai, but that's another podcast. But yeah, like you see all these influencers jet setting around the world, like working with all these different brands, earning bank. And you have to think to yourself, like, do I want to do that, or do I want to lead this normal life and a normal job? And I don't know
The answer. I think also a reminder that that lifestyle is not normal. Like, I think how glorious if it was, but like, it is a certain sector of people, and we have to remind ourselves that they are showing us what we want to see, right?
Yeah. It's promoting unobtainable things as obtainable things.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. And that's where it kind of gets into the psyche of people when you're watching people do X, Y, Z, flash their cash, do their gorgeous car hauls. And, you know, if you don't kind of have a strong sense of self, then you're going to struggle watching those things. Now is the time in the show where we just chat about something really insignificant that just really fucks us off.
And what a pile of bollocks!
And Phoebe's going to take the reins on this week's episode. So what is it? What is it, Phoebe? Tell me.
My bugbear at the moment is when you're walking down a street and say the path narrows where only one person can get through. So someone has to stand and wait, right? Happens all the time. What pucks me off is when the person who stands and waits and the person who walks, the person who's walking does not say sorry or like thank you, sorry, to the person who stands and waits.
So you just stood there like,
So you
what
stood
the
there,
fuck?
and I've had it so many times where someone will just plow past me and I've stood to the side and I've waited, and you're like, what would have happened if I just carried on? If I just
Do you
continued
know what, Phoebe?
walking?
Next time that happens, just stand there.
I have just kind of started being like, you're welcome. Like,
You're welcome, honey.
yeah. I just think it's rude.
It's the same when you open a door for someone though, right? And they don't say thank you and you're like, just stood there like, am I your personal waiter?
Yeah.
Am I your butler?
And like,
What salary am I on? Because last time I checked, it was 0.
and like it happens, right? Like you do forget sometimes, but it has happened so many times to me recently where they have just locked on and like plowed on past.
Do you know what it is as well? When they do it, they don't say sorry and they give you eye contact.
Yeah, and it's like, oh,
Who the fuck are you?
who the fuck are you?
Are you the fucking queen? I don't think so.
Queen of England. Thank you so much for listening to Shallow. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you could leave us a review. It makes a huge difference in helping others to discover the podcast. We always want to hear from you, so feel free to slide into our DMs or follow us on Instagram @shallowpod, or send us an email at shallow@boxedoff.studio. Shallow is a Boxed Off production, written and hosted by Lucy Bell and Phoebe Whittle. We'll see you next time.